So this is a linear equation part 2. So for linear equation part 2, right now we'll be doing question 27. So for number 27, they say that state the value of the y-intercept. Okay, so we need to understand what do they mean by the y-intercept. So y-intercept is always lying on the y-axis when x is 0. So for here is pretty straightforward. I know that my y-intercept has a value of 2. That's it, the end. Okay, but then there's a part 2. They ask you to interpret the meaning of this y-intercept. So whenever we want to explain what is y-intercept, you first need to understand what is y-intercept referring to. So if you look at the y-intercept, which is here, the dollar sign, is actually referring to the taxi fare. And next, you need to understand that the y-intercept can only occur when x is 0. And then what does this x means for this case? So we look at this x is actually referring to km, that is the distance traveled. So if distance traveled is 0, means did the taxi move at all? It means no, the taxi didn't move at all, right? So what does that mean of the y-intercept? So if the taxi doesn't even move at all, yet you are being charged $2, correct? So it means that this is referring to the initial taxi fare. So whenever you want to say something, okay, for the y-intercept, you want to interpret it, you got to always use this keyword called the initial, and we don't say y value because the y value is referring to the taxi fare. Okay, so this is always referring to your y value. So it's the initial taxi fare of $2, okay, when we don't say x is 0, but rather we say the x value. So what is the x value for this case? Which is when the distance traveled is 0. So this is the format that you can say for y-intercept and what is the meaning of this y-intercept. So that's it for question A. Okay, the next up, they're talking about the taxi fare for each additional km. Now, what does each additional km means? Each additional km means per km. Per km means every 1 km, how much the taxi fare increases. And every 1 km, how much the taxi fare increases. So you need to take note. This is actually a very interesting question because it's an indirect way of asking you what is the gradient. Okay? So the gradient will always tell you how much the value is per x value. So per km is per x value, right? So let's look at the next one. Okay, let's look at from 0 to 1. So you can see from 0 to 1, the taxi fare increases from $2 to $3, right? So let's look again from 1 to 2. So when a km of 1 to 2, an increment of 1 more km, can you see that the taxi fare also increases by $1? So therefore, I can say that the taxi fare is actually $1 per km. Because for each additional km, per km means 1 km. So that's it for question B. Next, C. So for C, they say that write down the equation of the taxi fare in terms of x. What does that mean? It means that they want you to find the value of y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, so how do you find the value of y equal to mx plus c? So if you want to find out the value of y equal to mx plus c, that means that I need the gradient, which I already found out just now. It's 1, right? If you do not believe, you can actually check it because just now, remember, I told you that the taxi fare for each additional km means per km is referring to the gradient. But if you want to double confirm, you can always do it. You take these two coordinates right here. So this is a coordinate of 0, 2, and this is a coordinate of 6, 8. So if you want to find the gradient, is actually 8 minus 2 over 6 minus 0. That means that is 6 over 6, which is a value of 1. So to find the gradient of 1, this is the gradient of 1, right? So it matches with just now the answer. Next, we need to find is the C value. So the C value is a y-intercept, which is over here. This is a y-intercept. It's a y-intercept of 2. So therefore, I can say that my equation is y is equal to 1 times x, will just give me x plus 2. The end. Easy peasy. Next up, question D. So from earlier on, just now, we have the equation is y is equal to x plus 2, right? So now they say using the graph, find the distance traveled if the taxi fare for the trip is $7.20. So if this is 6 and 7, 7 must be, here's 7. So $7.20. Let me see if we can draw it accurately. Draw the line. So 720 will be around here. So this is a 720, and then all the way down, which is here. So that means that it will give me, I think this is too thick, you cannot really see, so I'll do it thinner. Draw the line here. So this is here and here. Okay, the line is not accurate enough. So it's here. I'm gonna move this because it's not aligned, so it's around here. And therefore, I know that this is actually when it's the taxi fare is 720. So when the taxi fare is $7.20, it means that my distance traveled will be, if you read from the chart, it will be 5.2 km. Okay, so for this question, they say that the the equation of two linear graph is this. So this is the first linear graph, and this is the second linear graph. So for question A is pretty straightforward. They want you to make y as a subject. So y means you can only have a y term on the left. So 2y plus ax plus b is equal to 0. So only the y term is on the left. This that is not a y term, so you've got to bring it over. And the b is also not a y term, so you have to bring it over. So I have 2y is equal to minus ax minus b. So to get y at the end of the day is just minus ax minus b over 2. The end. That's it. Okay, so of course, I don't like to write it like that because I know it's a y equal to mx plus c equation. I like to split them up. So I write as, so how do I split? In case if you couldn't remember, this is the way to do the splitting method. So as a result, I have minus a over 2x minus b over 2. The end. That's all for the purple one. Next up, they say that the difference, okay, this is a little bit tricky already. They say the difference between the gradients, it means that they're telling you that, hey, go and find the gradient of this pink equation and also find the gradient of this purple equation. And the difference in these two equations will be 5. So hence, they ask you to find the value of 8. So let's do the one in pink first. Let's modify. So the pink one, you look, is pretty straightforward. It's already y is the subject already, right? So what does that mean? So the pink one is already, y is already the subject. That means that the gradient is actually a value of a over 3. Now, what about the purple one? The purple one, the gradient is here. So the purple one, the gradient is minus a over 2. So how do we find the difference in the gradient? So to find the difference in the gradient, that means that I have to take this value. Difference means minus away this value. So it's a over 3 minus away minus a over 2. Is equal to 5. And then from there, you can start doing your algebra, solving, and then go and find out how much is A. All right, so for the next question will be question number 31. They say that AB is parallel to the x-axis. So we already know there are only 4 kinds of lines, right? So parallel to the x-axis means that they're referring to this. That means that they're talking about For this, we know by now the format is y equal to something format. So that means that we have to look at the y value. If you look at the y value, it's actually cutting at 5. So hence, we can find the equation of AB. So the equation of AB, we know that it's just very simple, y equal to 5. I don't even need to do any calculation. Okay, next up, they want you to find CE. So what is CE? If you want to find CE, let me change color. So CE means right here. So can you see C is actually a diagonal line. So diagonal line means that you have to use the formula to find the gradient. Okay, so how to find the gradient of CE? So the gradient of CE is actually y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what is the value of y2? So if you look at it, this is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That means that if you want to find it, it's actually 0. I would like to put a bracket minus bracket. So it's 0 minus 4 over 6 minus 0. That means that it gives me an answer of minus 4 over 6, which is minus 2/3. Okay, so next, because in the equation, you always need y equal to mx plus c. I already found my gradient. My gradient is minus 2/3. And next, I need to find is my c. So if I look at my c, it's actually the y-intercept, which is 4. So therefore, I can say that my equation of CE is just y is equal to minus 2/3 x plus 4. Done, the end. Okay, so the next one is pretty interesting. So the last one is they're asking you whether 2, 3, 2 lies on the point CE. So what does that mean? So whenever you do this, right, you first thing need to find is the equation of CE. So do we have the equation of CE? Yes, we did from the previous part. The equation of CE is actually y is equal to minus 2 over 3x plus 4. Now that we have this equation, what do we have to do? So can you see this 3, 2 means x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2. So what I always like to do is I like to focus on one of the value first, which is x is equal to 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub x equal to 3 into the equation first. So when I sub x equal to 3 into the equation, it needs to give me a y value of 2 in order to know whether it lies on it, right? So let's go and check. Y is equal to minus 2 over 3 times 3 plus 4. That means that it gives me minus 2 plus 4, which is a positive 2. So yes. So can you see that my y value is 2, which matches what this coordinates say? So therefore, I can say that yes. Okay. Hold on, let me type it out, it's faster. So I'm going to say yes, the point 3, 2 is on the line CE. Yes, the point 3, 2 is on the line CE. And that is how you prove or explain whether the point lies on the line.